Hello everyone. Welcome to this seminar on Near Me Messaging, your own virtual agent embedded into Google Maps from Sea Salt AI. I am Sarah, a natural language processing engineer at Sea Salt AI, and today we'll be taking a look at the powerful AI-based capabilities of a Near Me virtual agent. So we'll be doing a number of things today. First, we'll build a new virtual agent together on the Near Me platform, and I'll walk you through that process and what it should look like at every step. We'll talk to our new virtual agent and make some incremental improvements until it answers exactly how we want it to. I'll then show you a couple of easy ways that you can personalize your virtual agent. And finally, we'll take a quick look through the full Near Me interface so you can see all the information that you can view about your virtual agent. All right, let's get started. So you can see here that I'm on the Near Me messaging website right now. And to start off, I'm just going to go ahead and sign in. So the important thing here is that you need to sign in with the same email that you use for your Google Business profile. And so this is so that we're able to link up with your Google Business profile and get the information about your various locations there that we need to build your virtual agent. So I'm just going to go ahead and sign in here and select my account. And then just give permissions for Near Me to be able to access that information on my Google Business profile. All right, so I'm now here on the locations page of the Near Me website. So this just shows all of the locations that I manage on Google Business profile. If you get to this point and you don't see some of the locations that you expect to, first just double check that you are actually signed in with the same email that you use for Google Business profile. And then you can go ahead and hit this sync button. And so the sync button will just re-pull information from Google Business profile and make sure that the most recent information from there is updated on here. All right, so today we're going to work with this location down here, the Sea Salt AI location. And this Add Agent button in the corner tells me that I have not yet created a virtual agent for this location. So all I need to do to get started with that is just click this Add Agent button. So we'll do that. And we've now started the process of building a virtual agent. So on this build page, the system is just telling me what's currently going on, what it's currently working on, and what it's completed. So it's already pulled the metadata about this location from my Google Business profile, and it's already synced the first 1,000 Google reviews with at least 4 stars. And it's currently working on building the virtual agent. Once it's done with that, it will produce a QR code for me to scan. Oh, and there we go, it's already done. So it's now produced these 2 QR codes, one for iOS, one for Android. And what these are is they give me access to a private testing version of my virtual agent. So this version that was just built is not yet accessible publicly on Google Maps for your customers to talk to. The version that is accessible through these is a private version that you can go ahead and talk to and test and make some improvements to. And once you're happy with that, then you can publicly launch it to Google Maps for your customers to talk to. So now that we have this built, let's go ahead and talk to it. So I've got my phone here, and so I'm just going to go ahead and scan this QR code and go ahead and launch my virtual agent. And just switch back to Wi-Fi. All right, so I now have pulled up this virtual agent that we just built in the Google Maps chat interface. So I can go ahead and just start talking to it. So first, let's start off with a couple of simple things. I'm going to go ahead and just say, hello. Go ahead and send that. And it's going to come back and say, hi. All right, great. Let's ask it a couple of questions about things that it should have been able to pull off of my Google Business profile. So go ahead and ask it, what are your hours? All right, so it went ahead and pulled these from my Google Business Profile, the hours for each day of the week that I have entered into Google, and it's gone ahead and returned those. Great, that's exactly what I want it to do. All right, let's go ahead and ask it one more. So maybe something like, what's your website? All right, and it's gone ahead and returned, here's the website, and it's also provided this handy external link that I could click on and go directly to the website. All right, let's try asking it something a little bit trickier. Something that's definitely not in my business profile. So let's go ahead and ask it, what is sea salt? Let's see what it does with that. All right, so it's coming back and it's telling me, I'm not sure I understood that. This makes sense. This isn't a question that's in any part of my Google, that would have an answer in any part of my Google Business Profile. And it's not something that any of my reviews that I know about in this location would answer. So it's not finding any answer in that. That is something we can improve, but for now, let's take a look at this answer. So you can see there's sort of three pieces to it. The two pieces in italics are something that will only appear on this private testing version. And these are just tips that you can look at for ways to potentially improve the answer that the virtual agent just gave. So here you can see there's a tip saying, couldn't find a confident response, so go ahead and try adding some custom FAQ. That's a good tip. We'll take a look at that in a minute. This one gives you sort of similar information and also just saying, if you're having some trouble with this, go ahead and reach out to CSOL support. This piece in the middle is the response that your customers would see on the public version if they asked this question once you've publicly launched it. And so this is just a, I'm not sure I understood that. And they went ahead and provided this location's phone number for the person chatting with the virtual agent to reach out to for additional support. All right, so this is what you're going to see from your private testing version if you hit a question that the virtual agent is having some difficulty with. So we just saw definitely having some difficulty with what is sea salt. Let's just throw a couple more questions at it for now, just to sort of see where it's at. Something that I might want to ask this virtual agent is potentially something like, do you have demos? This is a software company. I want to see some demos from them. Go ahead and ask that question. And we're seeing again this response of, I'm not sure I understood that. And we're seeing our private testing version tips. All right, let's go ahead and ask it one more question that we'll potentially look at later. Are you a Google partner? Let's see if it has any information about that yet. All right, so it didn't find any information about a Google partner, but it did find some information about Google Business Profile from one of our Google reviews. All right, that's good to know. It is finding some information about Google and trying to return that to the customer. That isn't quite the answer we want. So that's another question that we'll think about improving the answer on. All right, so we've asked it a few questions. We've found some points where we'd like to improve. So where do we go from here? Well, we can go ahead and click over here to get on this link below the QR codes to get to the full interface for this virtual agent. So you can see here, this is the Near Me interface for our CSALT AI virtual agent. And our main source on improving the responses that our virtual agent are going to be in this conversational AI category. So let's go ahead and start with that first question that we asked. This, what is sea salt question? And let's improve the answer that the virtual agent is giving for that. So, all right, there's sort of two main ways that we can try to improve that answer, and they are custom FAQ and knowledge base. So custom FAQ is where you would add sort of question-answer pairs in order to give a very specific answer to a set of similar questions. A knowledge base is where you can enter sort of larger chunks of text, sort of paragraphs or full sentences that the virtual agent can then search through to try to find an answer to a customer's question. So I think for this one, let's go ahead and start by creating a knowledge base entry because it's really quick and easy. All I have to do is copy paste some information into the interface and the virtual agent will be able to access it. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a paragraph that's sort of an about section for Sea Salt. That's just sort of Sea Salt AI is a Seattle-based cloud communication AI company. A little bit of information about some products. Great. Let's go ahead, we'll hit the check, and just remember to hit Save All to save it. All right, it says our update is successful. All right, so let's go ahead and ask the virtual agent that question again. So, what is sea salt? And great, we're now getting this answer that it's pulling from the knowledge base entry. So Sea Salt AI is a Seattle-based cloud communication AI company. That's fantastic. So this message up here, I'm not fully confident, but this might answer your question, is just letting the customer know that it isn't 100% sure on this answer, but this is the best answer it's found. And then it's just providing the full context that it pulled it from to give them enough information to judge for themselves whether they feel like this is an answer that fully answers the question that they asked. All right, so we've got it answering what is sea salt, but now I'm going to go ahead and challenge it. I'm going to throw a similar question that really should get a similar answer, but is a lot less specific of a question. There's not much in it that the virtual agent can sort of grab onto to get a specific answer. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to ask it, who are you? And let's see what it does with this. All right, so once again, we're getting that I'm not sure I understand that answer. So what's going on with this? Well, who are you is a pretty vague question. And so it's not finding anything in that can help it specifically key into this sort of who are you is tell me about sea salt. So it's not going to be able to find that information in the knowledge base as easily as with what is sea salt. So what can we do about that? Well, that's kind of the perfect spot to use a custom FAQ. We've now got two very similar questions that should be answered in a very similar, very specific way. So let's go ahead and add a custom FAQ to try to answer this instead. So I'm going to go ahead and add some of this information. It's a little bit different so that we can tell the difference between these two. So I'll just go ahead and say here, we are a cloud-based communication AI company providing next-gen voice solutions for contact centers of the future. And go ahead and add that first question in there. So what is sea salt? Through our original question here. And submit it. All right, and now I'm going to go ahead and paraphrase this question. So I'm going to add a bunch of similar questions that the virtual agent should also answer with this specific answer, so that it has more context to try to really narrow into the right answer. So go ahead and paraphrase, and of course add in, who are you? That first tricky question. And I'll go ahead and add a couple more. So what do you do? And maybe what is sea salt.ai? Get that .ai in there for it. And I'm just going to go ahead and save all of those. Okay, that's gone ahead and updated. So let's go back over to the virtual agent and try asking it again. Who are you? And there we go. It's now giving us that specific FAQ answer that we put in. We're a cloud-based communication AI company. All right, but now what if we go back and ask, what is sea salt again? So we've already had it answer with the knowledge base, but now we've specifically put it into the custom FAQ. So what is the virtual agent going to do with that? Let's take a look. What is sea salt? And it's answered with our custom FAQ. So the reason for this is custom FAQ is typically going to have the more specific answer. That is the best place to put specific answers. And so the virtual agent is going to prefer custom FAQ over the knowledge base most of the time. So this is just good to know if you have similar information in both your custom FAQ and in your knowledge base. The virtual agent is typically going to answer with the custom FAQ first. It's sort of a more likely answer than sort of trying to search through the knowledge base. The analogy I like to use to sort of describe the differences between the custom FAQ and the knowledge base is that of playing a game of darts. So custom FAQ is like hitting a bullseye. So it's very, very accurate, but it can take some time and practice to sort of hit the bullseye every single time. Similarly, custom FAQ will give you a very specific, accurate answer, but it can take some time and some work to kind of add in all of these paraphrases to really cover the breadth of ways that your customers might ask that for that kind of information. Knowledge base is like taking a handful of darts and throwing them at the dartboard all at the same time. So you're very likely to hit the dartboard, and you might even get some darts really close to the bullseye. But you also might have one or two darts that don't hit the dartboard or fall to the floor. So similarly, the knowledge base, you're very, very likely to get an answer from it. And a lot of the time it's going to be a pretty good answer, but every now and then you might get a kind of weird one. All right, so before we leave this example, I'm going to go ahead and throw one more question at our virtual agent. And so I'm going to say to it, tell me about sea salt. So this is something that probably should be answered in a similar way to some of our other FAQ paraphrases here, but patterns very differently from them. It's not sort of a what is, who is question. And so we can see here, we're actually getting the knowledge base answer on this question. That Sea Salt AI is a Seattle-based cloud communication AI company. So this is because it's not similar enough to our other paraphrases to match the custom FAQ, but it is still a similar question. It's asking about sea salt, and so the knowledge base is able to pick that up and find that answer in our original knowledge base that we've left there. So this is sort of a place where these two systems can play together very nicely, where you have the very specific questions that will get answered by your FAQ, and if you have similar information in your knowledge base, questions that slip through the FAQ will often get picked up there. So of course I can add questions, I can add, tell me about sea salt, tell me about yourself, introduce yourself, those sorts of paraphrases to the custom FAQ, and it will start answering with those. But I'm okay with this, how it's currently working, where, the most typical questions that I'm likely to get here are going to get answered by my FAQ, and if somebody asks it in a much different way, my knowledge base will be able to handle it. Okay, so we've added a custom FAQ, we've added a knowledge base entry, and we've gotten it answering sort of this collection of questions that are asking about Sea Salt AI. So where do we go from here? Well, we probably want to look at some of those other unanswered questions that we asked it earlier. So I can go scroll back and see what questions I asked it, but if I also want to get an idea of what all of my customers are asking my virtual agent, I can actually go to an unanswered questions section and take a look at what people have been asking it. So I can go over here in my analytics page, and down here I'll find an unanswered questions section. So of course, since we just created this virtual agent, all of these are my questions. And you can also see a couple of testing nonsense in there as well. But here we have our two questions that we asked it earlier that also weren't able to get a good answer. Do you have demos? And are you a Google partner? So let's try to go ahead and incorporate these as well and get our virtual agent able to answer all these things about our business. So let's go ahead and start with, do you have demos? So I think I'm going to go ahead and add this into my knowledge base. I don't really have a very specific answer I want it to give. And most of the time, I think when people are going to be asking about it, they're going to use that word demo in there somewhere. So I'm pretty confident that it will be able to hit on that most of the time. So let's drop into our knowledge base again. And I'm going to go ahead and add, let's add some information about our products and just have a little line here saying, feel free to ask for a demo. Go ahead and give it a title and save that. All right, let's go back over and ask our virtual agent again that initial question. Do you have demos? Great. All right, it picked it up, so it can now go ahead and answer, please feel free to ask for a demo. Let's go ahead and rephrase that one more way and just make sure that it's sort of picking up on a couple different ways that we could ask this. So I'll go ahead and ask it, can I see a demo? All right, it's still going ahead and picking up on that knowledge base and giving people that information. So I'm pretty happy with leaving that just as a knowledge base. Typically, I think people are going to use that wording when they ask about it, and so I'm confident that it will pick it up. All right, so let's head to that second question, that are you a Google partner? So with this one, that's going to have a very specific answer. That's going to be sort of a yes or no question. So I think I'm going to go ahead and add that into the custom FAQ and add a couple paraphrases to that question. So go ahead and do, are you a Google partner as my question? And drop in an answer to that. Yes, Sea Salt AI is an official Google partner. All right, submit that. And let's add some paraphrases. So Google partner, and I actually spelled that wrong, which actually I can go ahead and show you. All of these sections in the FAQ are fully editable. So if I make a mistake on one of them, I can just go ahead and go in and delete it and correct my spelling. And of course, I can also go ahead and delete any of these as well if it's not working the way I want it to. All right, let's go ahead and add one more paraphrase. Maybe do you partner with Google? All right, and go ahead and save those. All right, so let's go ahead and ask it that one more time. Are you a Google partner? And send that. And great. It's going to go ahead and respond with that definite yes answer. Yes, Sea Salt AI is an official Google partner. All right. So we've got a couple of FAQs, we've got a couple of knowledge base, and we have our virtual agent answering all of these initial questions that we threw at it. So let's go ahead and now take a look at a couple of quick ways that you can personalize your virtual agent. So I'm going to go ahead up into this virtual agent page. And here you can see a preview of what the chat window is going to look like in Google Maps for your virtual agent. So you have your agent name, which displays up here, and as the avatar name for your virtual agent. You can upload an agent avatar image, which will go both up at the top and also as the avatar image as your virtual agent chats with your customer. There are some size restrictions on that that you should keep in mind that are noted on the page. If it doesn't fall within those restrictions, it won't display on the Google Maps chat interface, just because there are technical restrictions to that. And please also note that your brand logo, the avatar agent avatar image, cannot be changed after you verify your brand and location. So after public launch. So before you take that step, make sure that you have finalized the image that you want here, because once you've done that step, you can't change it anymore. But you can go ahead and upload that here, and just add a little bit of your business's personality and flair into the interface that your customers are chatting in. The final thing on this page is the agent welcome message. So this is the first message that your customers will see when they first hit the chat button on Google Maps. And so the default is this sort of generic, how may I help you today? But you can go ahead and change this to whatever you want to show your business's personality, and also to get information out to your customers. So this is actually a great place to put sort of short-term information that you want your customers to know about, something that might like change on a day-to-day basis, or is a one-time special thing. You can put in your welcome message, and anyone who starts chatting with your virtual agent during that time period will see that message, and you can get that information to them very easily. So for example, if you're a business that has like daily specials, you can put them in here and inform any customers that start chatting with you on those days what your daily specials are, anytime they start that new chat session with your virtual agent. You could also use this as a way to inform people if there are special or emergency hours for your business any particular day or week, so that they immediately get that information when they start chatting with your virtual agent, which could actually answer the question they were coming to Google Maps to ask you about. So you can go ahead and type any of that in here, and a preview will show up. So if I were, say, a restaurant informing about my specials for today, I could say, welcome to the restaurant. Our specials for today are lasagna and spinach pie. And you can see the little preview down here of what that's going to look like. All right, so those are two quick, easy ways that you can add some personality to your virtual agent in the interface that your customers are chatting in. So let's go ahead and take a look through the rest of the Near Me interface, so you can sort of see what information you have about your virtual agent and where you can access it. So the first page that you see in your interface is your overview page. So this is a snapshot of information and quick access links for you to be able to do the most common tasks you need to with your virtual agent. So at the top, you just have a banner that lets you know that your agent is not yet publicly available on Google Maps. It just shows the status, your launch status of your virtual agent. You have a quick access to your welcome message in case you want to change it on a regular basis. It's right there on your overview page. You have some quick links access to some of those easy ways to improve your agent. So your custom FAQ, your knowledge base, and your brand photo. You have your private testing links, and then you have a link to publicly launching your virtual agent. On the business profile page, you can just see all of the information that we have gathered from your Google Business Profile about your location. So you can take a look through what we've grabbed, what information we have. I will note that any information on this page is just information that we have pulled from Google Business Profile. So if there's anything here that you need to change, go to your Google Business Profile and change it there. And then you can resync on that initial locations page, and it will update in this interface as well. Private test, you have access to your private test links once again. So this is the local testing version of your private testing version of your agent. which is the one that we have been working on and improving in this seminar. And then, very important page, your public launch page is where you can publicly launch your virtual agent to Google Maps for your customers to be able to talk to. So once you have gone through and made any changes that you want to your private testing version, you can come here and start the public launch process. So the first thing you'll need to do is do pre-launch verification of your brand and location. So once you are verified, you will then be able to launch your virtual agent. So there'll be a launch button on this page. You will click on that and it will launch your virtual agent to Google Maps. It can take up to 4 hours for the chat button to appear on your Google Maps page on the phone. But once it does, your customers can go ahead and talk to it there, and you'll have full access to that chat function on Google Maps. So we've already covered the latter two pages in conversational AI. But the one that we didn't go ahead and take a look at while we were improving our agent is Google reviews. So this is just a page of all of the Google reviews from Google Maps. So you can see all of them in here. And you can also have control over which ones your virtual agent has access to. So if there's any reviews in here that have outdated or inaccurate information and you don't want your virtual agent to use them to try to answer questions, all you need to do is uncheck the check mark over here and hit submit. And right away, your virtual agent is no longer using that review when they're trying to answer any questions. Finally, down here, we have a couple of pages that are extremely useful to be able to observe the performance of your virtual agent. So we saw a little bit of the analytics page a couple minutes ago, but we can go ahead and go through the rest of it now. So your analytics page is a in-depth look at the performance of your agent. So at the top, you have a section of metrics. So these are numbers and statistics on a number of different elements of your virtual agent. So the number of conversations, messages received and sent, how many unique visitors your virtual agent has had, how long it's been online, and you have control over the date range you want to see these metrics in. Our next section is we have an overview of all the conversations that have been had with your virtual agent. So of course with this one, you just see the conversation I've been having with it during the seminar, and just a little information about what was going on with that conversation, a few numbers on it. You've got a graph of your agent's busiest hours. So you can get an idea of when your customers are most talking to your virtual agent. Our unanswered questions section, which we've already taken a look at, it's a great source for getting an idea of what questions your customers are curious about that your virtual agent currently isn't equipped to handle very well. This is the Google Business Attribute Overview. So this will give you an idea of what Google Business Attributes your customers are asking about. So in your business profile, you'll see the Google Business Attributes that you've given information on in your Google Business profile. And so we're able to use these to answer questions as well. So in that section on analytics, you'll see the ones that people are asking about and the ones that people are asking about, but you haven't given any information on. So again, it's a good place to get some information on what your customers are curious about and what you potentially would want to provide specific answers on. And finally, we have a section that tries to pull the most common topics that are in your Google reviews. So it can give you a quick snapshot of what people are talking about in your reviews and what people like the most or talk the most about with your business. Finally, we have this conversations page. So this will give you the full conversations that your customers are having with your virtual agent. So clicking into it, we can see this is the full conversation that I've been having with this virtual agent during this seminar. and can scroll back and see the whole history of that conversation. And so you can get a really in-depth idea of what people are asking, how your virtual agent is answering, and what's going on in these conversations between your customers and your virtual agent. All right, so today we've gone ahead and built a virtual agent using the Near Me interface. We've talked to it, and we've done some improvements to the answers that it's giving. We've taken a look at a couple of quick ways that you can customize your virtual agent, and also gone through and looked at the different pages and sources of information that are available in your Near Me interface. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we hope that you will enjoy your Near Me virtual agent.